You're watching Oilers Nation Everyday with Tyler Yaremchuk. Your one-stop shop for all things Oilers.
It's the hope that kills you. Let's get into it with the lead. Well, I think it's safe to say the Edmonton Oilers did it to us again. A little teaser right off the top of what could be a great hockey game, and then gradually fade away into misery. Welcome into Oilers Nation Everyday, everybody, and into the Sports Closet Studio, where I believe you can still find these jackets, which are pretty good. The Mitchell and Ness, Kingsway, St. Albert. If you go to the Shore Park Mall, you might find me making phone calls because it's the best place I can get phone service in Shore Park at the moment.
Taco Tuesday today, actually, at the mall.
You could get
some tacos.
Great
today.
taco time there.
Wow.
Yeah. To give it credit, the Shore Park Mall has had some big upgrades in the last couple of years. I don't know if you have used
The front,
former Shore Park
used
resident.
to, yeah, I used to frequent that mall quite a bit. The front of it is definitely improved markedly.
Massively, yes.
You go inside and it still has some work to be done.
it truly does.
But I mean, what mall doesn't at this point?
Even West Edge, you could argue, could use some major.
They all have
upgrades.
some work to be done.
I remember when I moved to Canada, and everyone, obviously West Edge, it's great. It's a great spot, but that place hasn't changed too much. But I do remember the Flamingos when I initially moved here. That was special.
You don't improve on perfection, Liam. Come on.
True. First comment today in the Finning Cat YouTube chat. If you've got a comment, question, concern, anything in general,
I got a lot of concerns, Liam.
life issues.
You're all going to hear about them.
Let me know. Just
How
put
much
him
time
in.
you got?
Yeah, put him in the Finning Cat YouTube chat. First comment of the day. Wise Kyle. A little bit of optimism from Wise Kyle. Maybe we should consider this going into the show. The season isn't over. The Oilers are only 8 points out. Can't wait for our savior Soup to come back, since he still has the best save percentage on the Oilers this season. Is that
Does
good?
he actually?
I don't know. I can't. I dare look.
I don't even want to look at that if that's true.
It's not a fun one. We'll get into that with our short for giant question. But of course, the Edmonton Oilers last night fall 5-3 to the Florida Panthers. Set off the top, 2 goals right off the bat from Connor McDavid with what a goal.
Unreal
Goal. I don't know how he got it in from that angle. It was Leon Draisaitl-esque, I think is a good way to put it. No.
Well, I think even the broadcast did think it was Leon for a moment.
I thought it was.
I thought it was.
Also, before we get too far into this, Nation Dance. That's
not Tyler.
Not Tyler.
Not
Crazy
Tyler.
enough.
Tyler is away enjoying the Big Apple. An earned break. People like to say Tyler avoids the grind. There's nobody that grinds more than Tyler.
He does
Yaremchuk.
not avoid the grind at all.
A very ironic label he's put on himself. It's a joke from a few years ago. He got someone made him a sweater. Was it Electronic Jordan?
Yeah, that was in the before times.
Yeah, that was before my doing. But yes, Nation Danny's here on the Star Mechanical guest couch. We'll call it today. Star Mechanical is one of the Edmonton locally owned and operated plumbing and heating businesses. Over 20 years in this community, Dan has been putting in the work. Thoughts on Star Mechanical?
I'm a huge Star Mechanical fan. If I need mechanical stuff, I go to Star.
Damn right.
Everyone does it in the chat too. So first goal was absolutely nuts. Evander Kane's second goal. The second goal of the game. Great play by Ryan McLeod on the wall to get the puck out to Derek Ryan.
Derek Ryan, for the glitchiness.
Great pass to Evander Kane. 2 good games from Derek Ryan now. And not as noticeable, obviously, the game before yesterday compared to what he was the game before, but that play there is good to see some depth get involved in this. Hey, Dan?
Well, yes. I mean, you've got your big cat scoring now in McDavid, and then you got Kane. I don't know if I necessarily think of him as much.
Yeah,
he's secondary adjacent. Like he's not really.
He's tertiary.
He's not a depth scorer, but he's not a star. He's secondary scoring, I guess. So that mean like a Ryan McLeod's like third scoring.
But you need to start demanding that of Evander, and he's delivering with it, and so you can't be upset at it.
I think it's fair to say that Kane and Hyman have both shown up for this team.
Yep.
Throughout the season, those guys aren't going to score every single night, and it's not fair to expect them to. But you need them when one of them isn't scoring. You need the other one to score. The unfortunate part is the Oilers have a 3-headed monster in that sense. But have you ever seen that meme where it's like the 3 dragons and one of them looks a little goofy on the end? Yep. Right now you have Evander Kane, Zach Hyman looking tough, scoring a lot of goals. And then unfortunately, you have Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, who is the goofy dragon at the moment. I believe they said on the broadcast last night, 13 games now for Ryan Nugent-Hopkins where he hasn't scored a goal. No, it can't be that. He's 1 goal in his last 13 games or something crazy like that.
But
not good.
I mean, but if you look at it, if you take that meme and you slide in other names, we can create that all day. It's
Connor Brown,
Warren Fogle and Derek Ryan, and then Connor Brown, or it's you go up and down the lineup, and no answer is wrong. Yeah. That's the frustrating part for it, is that yes, you have guys having down games, but more often than not, more of the team is having a down game than up.
Yeah, it's not good. B Max said Kane and Hyman leading in goals for this team right now.
Yes,
I think that's probably pretty close. Draisaitl's up there for sure. Who
Sam Gagner too.
He didn't play last night, which people were a little bit upset on Sam Gagner not playing. What I will say is Sam Gagner can't play every single night in the NHL, and sometimes guys just need a bit of a refresh. I think there's a few guys on this team who are in that department. I would say Sam Gagner for sure.
Well,
and Derek Ryan, I would say, is within that group too. Yep. Occasionally they need to sit out.
And the man who replaced Sam Gagner,
Ernie.
Ernie season.
We'll get to it a little bit later. I might have some good things to say about.
You better have good things to say. You better. He was out there last night.
But team speed does matter.
Yeah, 100%.
And collectively as a team, we are slower when Sam Gagner is on the ice. So
yeah, and we spoke about this on this show, Dan, and I'm sure we spoke about it on ONR, which new episode out right now, by the way. We did an emergency episode last night.
Nice spicy reaction.
Emergency episode because we had no choice but to do it last night other than today.
Because Tyler's avoiding the grind. I mean, not avoiding
But Sam Gagner isn't good enough to play in your top 6, but he's good enough to play in your team. That's a fair evaluation of him.
We saw that with the game against Tampa, right? Where he's up on the top line.
Seattle. The 2 home games they had there.
The first one of this 3 stretch where we've had the exact same script play out now 3 times, except the Oilers were able to flip it at the end of the Seattle game.
Yeah. Light goal today. We haven't set one in the last few days, but I'm just seeing it kind of pop up in the chat. Any number that comes to your mind, Dan? Higher the better for a light goal. A light goal. You know, people can like the video on YouTube.
I'm going to say, let's say 200.
200.
That
is high, but
let's go.
Let's run hockey fights.
Ride, people.
I run hockey fights, and I believe in the chat that we can do that. I don't know why I said that.
So 200 is the light goal. We're currently at 16.
Oh, let's go.
Goal.
So do we not? We don't go off stream until we hit 200.
Let's go. Tyler Mulick said Gagner over Ernie. QF Pro said, we have the ability to healthy scratch one player, and I want to scratch Draisaitl. We're losing anyway. QF Pro, I will say that would be very bold. How many points did Draisaitl have last night? At least 2.
I think if Jay Woodcroft was the head coach, you could explore that. But I don't think Chris Knobloch's coming into this team and being like, looking at the entire roster and says, you know what, number 29, you're the problem.
What do you
be ballsy?
It's a good way to get the room on your side right off the bat.
Before we continue on with a bit of a recap from last night's game, since we only got to Leon Draisaitl at 1 point last night, -2, 3 shots, 1 hit. What are your thoughts on Draisaitl as a bit of a collective this season?
I think that, like, you know, we say this often as a city that we like our guys that work hard and our guys that go out and try every night. And Leon Draisaitl has just got some body language issues, whatever it is, whether he's German, whatever the issue is, it upsets people. And I get it. I understand that. And I can kind of recognize that. But there's not a person that watches these games that can tell me that Leon Draisaitl isn't attempting crap all the time. He's making those passes, and yes, they're getting intercepted. He's taking those shots, and yes, they're going 4 feet past the net. But he's out there grinding and trying. Yes, again, sometimes his body language screams that you need to yell at him. And so I get it. But like there's about 27 different answers on this team as to why we're bad right now. And we're right about all of them.
Yeah.
Every single one of them is correct. But like going after Leon Draisaitl, does that fix the salute? Does that fix the problem altogether? No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I loved Kennedy's tweet last night. She said, once the Oilers fix their power play and their penalty kill and their 5v5 and their odd man rushes and their goalie issues, then you'll all see. And that encapsulated it all right there.
100%.
At least we have humor.
We like, I mean, we can't have the players and the organization and the fans all say that it's death by 1,000 cuts. And then when we look at each of these cuts, we don't recognize them as one of these 1,000 cuts that we're dealing with.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of people agreeing with you in the chat too. Lance Kane said, #Danny's right. So that was big.
Wow.
Danger Swade said, this is a funny
Drink
one.
it in, buddy. This is your moment.
Like goals should be however many times Dan mentions Halifax.
Okay.
So,
All right.
So
200 to
200.
go. Oh, shit. That's a lot of Halifaxes. Okay, we can do this. Halifax.
Keeping on with the recap of last night's game.
What'd you think of Calvin Pickard?
Well, sorry, before we get to that, quickly after Evander Kane scored, he went to the penalty box, which was, in my opinion, stupid. Like, you got your shot in on Tkachuk. You got your cross-check on him. You had him pinned up. To then punch him in the head and get called on that, you're towing the line there. And it was so unnecessary because at that point, too, the referees hadn't established how the game was going to go. And to be fair, they lost it very quickly. I don't think you can just run that risk when you have all the momentum on your side. And then to go and do that and put your team on the penalty kill, which to their credit, the penalty kill has been pretty good the last 3-4 games. I think that's fair to say. Last game they allowed 2, but I mean, it's Tampa Bay. It's going to happen.
Been better.
It's been way better. But to put that on the line, it's just so unnecessary. And he gets another one later in the period, which was maybe a little bit unfair. But either way, just don't put yourself in that situation. Bruce Kurlock tweeted out, and I believe this happened. I believe Kane got benched for the rest of the first period after he took that penalty. And Kane was playing well. Right before his goal, he had that great move too, where he took it around the guy. But it's just like, Evander Kane, you don't need to do that. You don't need to put your team in jeopardy because you're playing such a good game at the moment and you've ruined it. You ruined a great performance.
I think that for me, you come into a game, there's just certain teams in this league that you have to prepare yourself for the shit disturbing.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I personally can't blame Evander Kane for skating up to Matthew Tkachuk and not wanting to punch him more in the face.
I would have loved to as well.
But yeah, I mean, you as a star on this team, a guy that, 3 weeks ago, if you had asked me, would I want him engaging in that situation? I would say yes, because you weren't seeing the results on the ice. You have to kind of change your mentality. It's, as a player, you're not going to be that tough guy in that moment. Darnell Nurse has had to do that as a an example of a leadership role on this team. You have to be able to be the guy that rises above and says, you guys, this is what Bennett and Tkachuk have made their entire careers off of, is stirring up the shit and pissing me off, and I'm going to rise above it, so you guys need to too. Because what we saw happen is it kept rising. The temperature just kept rising. After every whistle, they're throwing that extra little check. Svenlin puts the puck in the fucking net, and we don't say, sorry, am I allowed to swear?
Oh yeah,
he puts it in the net, and we don't do anything about that other than Fogle does come in and gives him a little face rub here and there. But like, you need some real emotion, some real reactions. I miss the days of grabbing that guy because he looked at your star player the wrong way. And so for me, it's tough. It's tough
a tough
to
balance, Dan. That's where I go, like with Evander Kane, when he's performing and putting up goals like this, yes, he's better for you on the ice than in the box. But it's that healthy balance with the power forward like Evander Kane. There will never be that perfect bit because we can't play both sides earlier in the year. All we want him to do is get physical. Now he's done that. Now his game's good. Well, that's what got him to get scoring. I can't tell him to stop doing it. Or can I? Who knows?
That's the challenge. And then you see an Evander Kane get a 10-minute misconduct at the end of the game. Pivotal moment. We got 14 minutes left to go in the game. Yes, he's probably not wrong in what he said, but these referees have absolutely lost the plot in the game, Evander. You got to shut your mouth.
Yeah, you can't allow your emotions to take over. He's obviously a very emotional player.
Things got crazy last night for two teams that do not play each other. It was my oily last night. It was the Tkachuk effect. But every whistle, man, from the get-go, that game was going off. Vinny, beating some ass once again.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that.
That team, the Florida Panthers have been doing that for a little while now. Kachuk comes in and you see the identity shift a little bit from the waves and waves of offense. Now they still do that. That's still their MO is getting the shots on net. But yeah, there's just some teams out there that are going to do that, and you have to be better at that as an organization. And your coaches have to be preparing you for that shit ahead of time too.
Yeah.
But the leadership on the ice really matters. And Evander Kane, I think, played into and fueled that fire that just kept going. And then we saw Desharnais fight try to kind of stem that nonsense.
Before we get to the Vinny fight, there's a good comment in the Finning Cat YouTube chat from Nuge Lover. Kane is the devil and angel on the Oilers fans' shoulders because he brings so much good but brings so much bad at the same time. I think that's a fantastic.
It really
I
is.
think the good outweighs the bad. The good outweighs the bad with Evander Kane.
It has to.
Yes,
But when it's bad, it's bad.
It has to as an organization, but when it is bad, that is the worst. And that's when he gets chased out of organizations. He's 2 for 3 now in his career.
Dan, my favorite comment in the YouTube chat is hashtag Dan is right, and then Tan greater than Tyler.
Oh,
Seeing a lot of those.
wow. Not since I was in Halifax have I heard that kind of line.
Like button, strike the like.
Do you think it's fair to say the Oilers were a little bit unlucky in some departments too yesterday? Like you go back and look, and Ekholm fires one off Hyman's ass.
100%.
You could look at that and be like, okay, you could go glass and out, but also how many times is that going to happen?
Broberg
And then there's also
tripped on the
Broberg
stick.
tripping on the stick, which is super unlucky. Is that fair to say? I hate going back to that reference every single time of like the Oilers were unlucky. But when you go back and look, it's hard to not argue that too, because how many times is Broberg going to skate backwards and his stick, which essentially was done like midway in the offensive zone, makes its way all the way back to the. It was just there.
To me, it's like as a team, you can look at that and you can say those are things that happen, but you have to be able to rise up after that. And this team now, we're coming into that time where can they perform in a third period? Are third period comebacks even a thing that this team can do right now? And like an offensive squad like we should be able to, but we're not. We're not coming back in these games.
Yeah, they obviously had the Seattle game, but that was
it was Evander
Kane.
That was Evander Kane almost single-handedly putting the team on his back and reacting
for himself. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not taking away from the win.
Yeah.
But
I see what you mean. And even yesterday, they have, 2 or 3 power plays in the third period. Last season, that's automatic. We get at least one goal. They're lucky to get chances at the moment on the power play. And I guess that's another question. I think they need to adjust the first unit power play. I think all 5 of those guys are your best options to score, and I understand why they need to be out there. Of course. But Nugent-Hopkins needs to find his groove, and he doesn't have it right now, and that's okay, somewhat, but that needs to be addressed, and you need to put someone out. That spot should almost be who's the hottest player on the team right now, who's capable of going out there and scoring a goal, because last night it's probably Kane, but at that time point he's probably in the penalty box for his 10-minute misconduct, whatever it was, right? A couple of games ago it was Warren Fogle. There's a lot of guys who you can slide into that spot and give an opportunity to. And what did you take? Do you think they should adjust the power play? Do you maybe go 2 guys up top?
Well, you and I talked about it last night on ONR as well. For me, this team, where's the new identity for the team under Chris Knobloch? Yeah. I just don't see it. And
feels like the exact same.
And the power play is the part. Now I know Glenn Gullickson's still a part of the organization. He's the one that's running the power play, but change it up. We have this second unit that's actually been kind of effective this season and created some things. Why not give them one of the superstar talents that we've loaded up on this first line and give it a different look? I don't know. I understand. I love not seeing some change here in places, but then also changing it up isn't the worst thing. We're going to McDavid and Draisaitl after penalty kills and everything. Why not change it up on that power play? Just see something new.
Definition of insanity.
Keep trying the same thing over and over again, expecting different results.
And to defend Knobloch a little bit, because I do agree with you. I think that, what's it been now? 4 or 5 games, whatever it's been. Now is your opportunity to be like, okay, you guys have had your chance to prove me wrong. All right. A lot of guys, I would say, have done a good job of turning the tide a little bit. You got to think, like, they are 3-2 in the last 5.
And we
But
have
trust
had
me,
2-goal leads in both of the ones we
there's
got.
a lot of positive, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend that the season's over. It's an uphill battle for sure. But now Knobloch needs to establish himself as the coach of this team, and things need to be changed. I think seeing accountability last night on Kane is good. And another player that is making the headlines, good and bad, every single night. Anyone want to guess? It's Evan Bouchard.
He is good.
He is good. But
Jack Campbell.
I'm sorry, Evan. I'm sorry.
so in his last 2 games, and people have been kind of so Knobloch came in the Islanders game. So these are the 5-on-5 minutes for Evan Bouchard. For people asking for his minutes to be reduced, a lot of his minutes now are coming on the power play.
Mhm.
So these are just 5-on-5 minutes as Knobloch came in and Paul Coffey. So 18-28 against the Islanders. In that game, the minutes were very evenly split because there was not a lot of power play time. It was very very much
was
a
the
flow
high
play.
ice man on that.
Yeah,
one, right?
and the reason he was the highest is because he got stuck out on a shift for 2 minutes. So knock off a minute of that, and he's pretty much even with everybody. After that, his minutes go down 2 minutes, 5-on-5 to 16:33. After that, which was Tampa Bay on Saturday, it was 13 minutes, 13 seconds. After that, last night, it was 13 minutes and 48 seconds. Now, I think, too, when you look at when you're seeing Bouchard the most, it's in the third period of those 2 games because the Oilers are trailing and they need him out there and a lot of power play. Like, you cannot take Bouchard off the power play. That would be ridiculous to take him off the power play. But
would it, though, to put Darnell in his spot?
no, I think he's too much of. I think you could argue he's been the biggest threat on the power play this year. I think he might be the Oilers' only threat every single night on the power play right now. His shot is lethal, and
but I'm not taking him necessarily off the power play. I'm moving him to that second power play, and like my position. And again,
It's not crazy.
I want to put the caveat out there that I'm not calling out Knobloch 3 games into his career, but I said this when the Woodcroft change happened. The crappiest thing is that Knobloch now comes in and the question marks are going to be immediate for him. And how can he be expected to change things in a minute? But going back to the point about Bouchard, put him on that second power play and start to swing the offensive nature of those 2 together instead of making it all about number 1. But
I want to respond to something here in the chat that I see here from Jeff.
He said stores are coming.
You guys know. You guys understand, right, that the success or failure of the power play is dependent on opposition. Teams have done their homework and they are game planning to stop the predictable power play. That is exactly why I would switch up the power play. I don't understand what your point is there. That is, I think everyone's starting to notice Connor McDavid's cross-ice passes. They're getting tipped up over the glass. They're getting tipped up out of the zone. Leon can't do a shot. Bouchard's a shin pad assassin sometimes. So for all those reasons is reasons why I would change up the power play. I don't know who you switch out, where you go, but
appreciate them helping our point there.
Yes.
That was great.
Just on Bouchard to maybe wrap up this conversation quickly. I think how do I word this? There becomes a point, and I think it's becoming evident within his minutes, that his mistakes are becoming too crushing to this team. It doesn't matter how much offense he's bringing. If you score 3 points a night, but you put 3 pucks in your own net, how much does that really even matter? And I think last night, look, this guy's all over the ice that are causing problems. This isn't me just ranting on Bouchard, but their 4th goal came from Bouchard pinching way too heavily and like taking that guy down. That is such a predictable play. I think everybody could see what was about to happen. And then there was also that really weird moment where he didn't know if it was a hand pass or a high stake, whatever it was. And then he plays it so softly, and it results in Ekholm just being out of position and not just so kind of flustered, I think is a good way to put it. And then Ekholm has to take a penalty, which Jamal Myers said was a good tripping call, which might have been true, might have been not, but he should have never been in that situation if his partner didn't put him there. I don't know what else you do with Bouchard right now. And you just kind of roll with the punches because he can't play less than 10 minutes a night at 5-on-5. And you can't just have him out there for the power play. But he needs to be better. He needs to think about the game and within the moment. And I believe it was Jason Strudwick replied to one of Zach's tweets last night about Evan Bouchard. And Strudwick essentially said, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but it's like, it's moments in certain areas where he's struggling a lot and they're always in the defensive zone. And it's just like, what is it going to take for you to figure this out? because he's such a. I don't know what else you do. Like you said, they've reduced his minutes so much. You can't just. The next point is he sits, but you also can't sit him because he's such a good threat in the offensive zone. It's such an awkward situation the Oilers are in with him right now.
Well, and I think that like that play where the hand pass is clearly there tells me that's a player that's panicking in his reactions right now. He's not confident in even the most basic movements of as a defenseman. So but again, we come back to this death by 1,000 cuts. And if this was the one issue that the Edmonton Oilers had, we had our number one defenseman that needed some help. Yes, scratching him might be an answer that we could do, and it might make headlines for a minute. But if we did that right now, it's going to make headlines for all the wrong reasons, because Evan Bouchard is not the only reason the Edmonton Oilers are losing hockey games. I think my piece of hope that I have, as much as I don't like him as a coaching option, having Paul Coffey behind the bench is like, there's probably like 3 or 4 guys otherwise that could expose themselves as a player defensively as much as Paul Coffey did, and then be able to recover it.
Yeah.
That I hope that they're going to be able to just like have some more conversations going forward with a guy like Evan, to just let him calm down and stop making those bad decisions, because he just didn't need to play that puck.
Yeah. And
then nothing happens. Nobody calls him out. No decisions are have to be made at all there. Instead, he made one where he had to panic, and it's just, that's when mistakes happen.
Connor said in the chat, making Coffey an assistant coach isn't going to help Bouchard and Broberg. I think he kind of has helped everybody.
Yes.
But I think can we pull up, I believe it was the 4th goal that, not the other score because they only scored 3, that Florida scored.
The lazy one.
And there's a ton of errors in this goal, but it starts with Bouchard making that unnecessary pinch. It'll go back here in a second. But either way, watch Bouchard. Like, why are you turning so heavily on that?
Oh
like, God. Man, stop hard. So he cross-checks him there. That's so unnecessary. Everyone's out of position. You should never do that, knowing there's nobody behind you but one defenseman. So you expose your play there. I know this stuff with Draisaitl on this too, which is lazy, and 100% they need to be better as a group in this, and everyone's bad. But Bouchard has 2 opportunities to kill this play, and he fails on both of them. Like this one, like, stop hard and dive in front of that.
But put your face in front of that puck.
Every single segment of that clip, you see a player that's trying to engage in the play.
Yes.
He's trying to be a part of that play instead of playing defense.
Yes.
And that's the piece again where it's between the ears for me with Evan.
That's fair, Dan, because Boosh steps up here.
He's trying to be a part of that play.
Moves over. They both do. Leaves the guy exposed. Yeah. Oh shit! There he is. Oh.
Yeah, and he's coming in.
Let's all help.
He's looking at the puck. He's looking at puck. He's trying to get puck there. If he got the puck there, we're not worried about this. But it misses him, and it's just a guy that is just, again, I feel like he's just trying to make that action play so that he can't be like, I did nothing here. I tried something. I don't know. It's frustrating to watch as a fan.
It totally is, and
it's frustrating to talk about it every night.
we're obviously we talk about it every day, so I don't want to pile on the guy too much. I think he's just in a slump right now. We've actually seen him play we've seen him play really, really well. And I think once he gets out of it, he's going to be fine.
Of course he will.
He's never, ever going to be a stud defenseman. We just need him to be average.
We said this all about Evander Kane 2 weeks ago. I'll just keep harping on it. Like, we keep watching these players rise out of this crap, and we're like, oh yeah, but we need more of you to rise out of this crap. Well, it's going to keep happening. These guys are going to keep
I still believe in Bouchard, because straight up, we watched him do this last season.
Of course.
Like less than a year ago, we saw him pull himself out of it. Jay, every time, was on here trying to trade him. Starts turning around. So I do believe in Bouch. You just gotta, and they gotta go in that roadie. And I mean this when I say, like, Biz talks about it, Rosal talks about it. They gotta go hit the bar.
Trust falls.
Go.
Trust falls every night.
Get a private room at some club somewhere and just have a night. Turn off your brains. Have some beers.
Surprise.
Stop thinking so much. And then there you go. We should try that too, Dan.
There's a lot of comments here in the Finnecat YouTube chat on Evan Bouchard. Maynard said he's not slumping, he's a bad defenseman. Salty Dylan said, I'm in full-on pylon mode. Steve said he's playing too many minutes. Kind of discussed that a little bit, Steve. Growing pains, someone had, I think it was Davin said too. But one of the guy quickly before we move on to the next part of this 30-minute recap we've done on the game. Calvin Pickard played his first game since 2021. We discussed it on ONR. I think it's fair to say he was good, but not good enough. But also for a guy that hasn't played in the NHL for almost 2 years, had 16 days off in the from his last game in the American League. He did a good enough job, and he gave the Oilers an opportunity to win. It was the Oilers' lack of commitment in front of him and bad luck too, which resulted in the Oilers losing this game, not Pickard.
Welcome to the Edmonton Oilers defensive experience. It's a hell of a show. He got to have some fun. He started out the game really well, as Oilers goalies tend to be doing recently. But yeah, man, like that Florida offense just comes in waves. The shots just never stop coming. There's plays where the defense breaks it down, and then oh shit, there's the third and fourth guy, and then they get an opportunity out of it. So I mean, that's a good Florida Panthers team. Calvin Pickard gave the Edmonton Oilers a chance to win that hockey game by making enough saves to keep them within one. But he didn't do it.
I think once again, it's like he played as good as I expected him to. That second one on Mikkola or whatever, that one crushed my soul because he absolutely needed that one. But later in the game, there was several opportunities that the Panthers could have put that away.
Did a good job.
He kept us in it. That's all you can ask. Once again, did you expect Calvin Pickard to come in and save us? Exactly. I know some people in the chat did when I said, do not get your expectations up like that. That's just what he is. And let's go back to Stu. Let's go back to Stu.
He's our starter for now.
Moving on. We have the Finning Cat right there. Black Friday sales, by the way.
That's right.
If you scan that code that way, guys.
Yeah.
You can get straight to their website and find the deals. Great deals over there at Finning Cat if you're into that kind of stuff.
They have a new deal every day of the week, and then I believe those deals stay live for the rest of the week and whatnot. So
there you go.
Come on now.
Now I can just point up and he's right there.
Psych.
The Sherwood Ford giant question of the show, Dan.
Whoa.
Before we move on to a couple other things outside of the Edmonton Oilers. Will the Oilers make the playoffs? I know it's such a loaded question.
Before we started this episode, you promised I wasn't going to be put on the spot.
Yeah, I did.
I might have to go back to Halifax after this to lick my wounds. Yes, the Edmonton Oilers are going to make the playoffs. I read all the clips where everybody tells me that they have to win more than the Boston Bruins won last year and all that stuff. Yeah, well, they've lost a bunch to start this season. So, like, this team goes through this almost every year since 2019. We've had a December or a January to forget. And so until we hit that December or January to forget, we're not out of it by any means. Is the damn slope way steeper than I ever wanted it to be? Of course.
Yes.
But I think the Edmonton Oilers make it.
Are you worried about that American Thanksgiving timeline, which is literally 2 days from now? And the Oilers will not be in the playoffs.
We can turn it around with a win against Carolina. No, I've read that it is pretty true. It does ring true, but everybody's going to point to the St. Louis Blues as the counterpoint to that. We have to go out and get Jordan Binnington and everything will be fine. But no, there's so many games left to be played. There's so many injuries to happen. There's so many things around this league. We've got teams that are way up there that nobody expected. The Boston Bruins, have they lost a game in regulation yet? Maybe one now?
One or two,
whatever. Who could have predicted that kind of nonsense? So there's so much left to be determined yet.
I think they obviously still have a great chance to make the playoffs. What are we, 20 games in? Maybe not even that. If they go on a bit of a losing streak here, then they're toast.
Yeah, of course.
But again, I said it yesterday. They're 3-2 in the last 5. If they win again tomorrow, they're 4-2 in the last 6. There's a long way to go, and they can get this together. It's about 10 games, right? How did you do in this one? How did you do in that one? Last season at 20-game point, the Oilers were 500, and they were out of the playoffs at American Thanksgiving. I remember Tyler was sat right here. Actually, he was sat right there where the chair used to be, and he said the Oilers were out. I said, I beg to differ. I don't know, though. The problem is, obviously, that people are looking at is there's a lot of flaws. There's a ton of flaws. There's obviously
and I've seen nothing that for me to think that they're going to change any of these flaws.
So that's the biggest question mark, isn't it? Like
I saw
if they
you,
can
you
turn
brought up
things
like the
around.
St. Louis Blues thing. I saw what Biz and Witt, they were tweeting, and Biz was like, I love the Oilers fans, whatever. I'm getting 2019 St. Louis Blues vibes. And then Witt Dog tweets, he goes, you're right. Petrangelo, Parayko, Dunn, Bouwmeester, Edmondson, Bortuzzo, Gunnarsson really reminds me of the Oil. And I was like, man, that made way too much sense for me to hear that.
Yeah,
I don't get St. Louis Blues vibes from this team right now.
not yet.
Not
We
yet.
need to practice. We need to practice fight first.
There you go.
The
Fight to practice.
Nuge Lover
So we
said
might.
their previous 10 games have been significantly better than the first 5 or so, which is encouraging. Exactly. Like they've had a good stretch here. There's moments within the games where they look unbelievable. We saw it yesterday, but just multiple brain farts throughout the game are crushing this team at crucial times. Michael said, get a new coach. Hey, maybe.
We tried that yet?
I floated the idea when we were down 3-1 against the Kraken. I'm just saying, a new coaching change could change things. Mid game.
Last thing before we completely move on from the game in general, because I want to talk about this new international hockey tournament. I want to talk about some hockey fights with you since you run hockey fights. I'm going to get to our Betway wrap too. Your Blue Cross moment of the game. Shout out to Blue Cross for helping us with our nation vacations this year. The boys had a great time, and girls, sorry, in Seattle. We've got obviously the Arizona trip coming up in February 18th and 20th, I believe it is, isn't it? Yep. The Mullet Arena, Flights Hotel.
Dan, are you coming? Christopher Palmer asked.
I am not going to be there, unfortunately, but
it's a good one to be at, though.
It's going to be a heck of a time. I was able to still be a part of some of the setup of this, and you guys are going to have an absolute blast there. And you know what? The Coyotes are fun. The Coyotes organization, they like to have fun. And I think you guys are going to have a blast.
I've heard the Den, whatever that's.
Mullet Arena, the Den.
It's going to be a blast.
It's going to be a good time.
Liam, you'll be there. I'll be there.
We'll be there.
Come on, hang. They have Crown Royal in Arizona, right?
Confirms.
So your Blue Cross moment of the game, Dan, from last night.
Well,
it doesn't have to be just an Oilers thing, too.
For me, it was subtle. It was, I think it was in the second period. Connor Brown got absolutely lit up by Nick Cousins. Nick Cousins smacked him around, and Brown got up, and they got into each other's face.
Yeah,
and I
Cousins wanted to fight.
I thought I was going to be clipping a fight for sure.
He did get one.
Did get one later on, but not those two guys. Because what happened there is exactly what I think should happen. Adam Ernie went out, took that number, and said to himself that he was going to get him later. It just so happened, it happened on the exact same shift. Cousin gets the puck after engaging with Connor Brown and trying to muck it around with him. He gets the puck, and Ernie just comes over and smacks him. And the Oilers, to a person, gave him a couple of chirps as he went off the ice, and that was it. It was dispatched of and ended with. So Adam Ernie, a guy that takes a lot of flack on a lot of our shows, he's going to get my moment of the game.
I am never ashamed to go back on my word and say when I was wrong. I don't think I'm wrong on Adam
also
Ernie.
one shift. So let's pull it back a little. But.
I don't think I'm wrong on Adam Ernie, but I do appreciate the fact that he's trying to establish a role within this team for himself and make a career again in the NHL. And last 2 or 3 games, he's done a good job. I didn't love the elbow on Belmar, but I think you said it on ONI. It's like, it's good to see someone do something like that and try and make this team tough to play against, which is a big positive. And hey, if Adam Ernie can stay in that role, then he deserves to be in the team. I just still don't think they should have signed him. But there's not a spot for anybody else on this lineup right now. I don't think Lavoie can be in this team at the moment because they're refusing to use him in the top 9.
Mm-hmm.
So just use Adam Ernie. Bogo's not ready.
You need guys like Adam Ernie.
Yeah, you
not
do.
in every game thing. It's also Sam Gagner's slow. So he needs a game off. Okay, you give some Ernie. You got to go back and forth with that. My Alberta Blue Cross moment of the game, you said it last night and I said it earlier. It was Vinny on auto shed. I haven't seen a guy drop his gloves and get him off his hands quite as fast as that in quite a while. And he was ready to get in that fight immediately. What a fight. It was exhausting to watch. And then I said the visual afterwards of him in there, no bucket, ice in his hand, no tooth. That's a hockey player right there. I love Vinny.
After he pulled out Arbor Jackie's shoulder out of the socket, I was surprised. I'm surprised that people are still willing to go with him. But yeah, the temperature was rising. You said it earlier, Liam. The referees lost the plot real early on with this game, and so you have to come in and lay down the law. He grabbed a guy that's a little bit smaller than him, probably wouldn't have accepted that fight if he was given the opportunity to go back and redo things. But yeah, it's sometimes you just need to be able to set that tone because the referees lost the plot.
They did. My Sherwood,
Blue Cross.
Alberta Blue Cross. Sorry.
My Sherwood Blue Cross moment of the game.
My Alberta Blue Cross moment of the game has to be McDavid's 2 goals, right? Like that first one he got was just nuts to see him score from that angle. I'm not even sure why he shot the puck, but I'm glad he did.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, going in on his shootout goal and just being Bobrovsky so bad that Bobrovsky had no idea where the puck went. Crazy stuff from Connor McDavid. This, for me, was probably his most impactful game of the season. Is that fair to say?
Oh, easily. And I think we've been clamoring for these kinds of games, and it's just frustrating again that we wasted that moment.
Yeah, it totally is. Moving along, Dan. There's a couple of things I want to get to. Here's the penalty shot now. Coming in, Connor McDavid. Slow and steady wins the race, and then wow.
You mentioned it, but the visual there of Bobrovsky looking for the puck, that was just hilarious.
Yeah. Dan, you obviously run hockey fights, so I'd like to discuss that a little bit with you.
Yes.
How are things?
Things are great.
How's business?
Business is awesome. Brand new website for people to come and check out. But yeah, fighting is an interesting part of the game to be able to talk about all the time.
Yeah. Handshake Lime Respect said, Vinny picked on a way smaller guy.
Mhm.
Embarrassing. What I would say is that guy came in and basically cross-checked Vincent Desharnais, right? Also, everybody's smaller than Vincent
Thank you.
Desharnais.
That's exactly what I was supposed
That's
to
a tough thing to put on Vinny Desharnais to go and find a person that's bigger than him in the league.
That's why you have big guys. on the
Jared
team.
doesn't exist
But-
anymore.
But to that commenter's point, the Florida Panthers were fucking around and they found out. And
Hell yeah.
that's you can't go around and run guys after the play. You can't go around and punch guys in the brainstem and not expect it to come to fruition somewhere else
That
afterwards.
pissed me off. The fact that
I know that
Kane-
happened after, but
Yeah, but the fact that Kane got that penalty in the first period for just the slight punch on Kachuk should have been a penalty. I'm not saying it should have been. It was stupid by Kane. But then later on in the game, when things are getting heated, you don't just take Sam Bennett out of the pile and say, no, you're the one going to the box for an extra 2. But punching Hyman in the back of the head when he ripped off his helmet too.
Mhm.
That just didn't make sense.
Can you guys explain that to me? What and how?
It doesn't make
It was
sense.
Kane got 10 minutes.
Kane
We
got the 10
can't.
for saying whatever he did on the bench. They never really
We
addressed
can't
it.
explain it
never
to you because
explained
the
it.
referees are not accountable for their own decisions and don't have to answer to anybody. So we only have to assume, and that's what the broadcast did actually last night, and they assumed it was Hyman that took the misconduct.
Yeah.
I think and I believe referees don't have to necessarily answer questions, but they could put a statement out after the game that explains the infractions like that where we don't have any idea what was said or
I
done.
still have no idea. what
Because I'd like to
happened.
be able to say, shame on you, Evander. You shouldn't have said that if that's the case. But I think that the reality is Evander said something about the referee and it hurt his feelings.
The guy
That
who
was a good
Vincent Desharnais fought is 6'2", by the way.
So not exactly a small human being,
Yeah.
but he looks smaller next to Vinny Desharnais. So I understand that
Me too.
sentiment. But you know what? The reality is the Florida Panthers didn't have to go out and do all the shit that they did after the whistle. And then that doesn't happen. Vinny Desharnais isn't pissed off to the point where he wants to grab a guy that's smaller than him.
We're currently saying it's 79 likes, and Dan has
That's
said
not enough.
Halifax 200 times already. So
Halifax,
we can get those up there. Thank you everyone for watching.
We can't
Oilers
turn it
Nation
off
Everyday
until it
so
hits
far.
200. So
Yes.
about
Well,
that.
It's a party in the
17
office
minutes.
today, and I'm just watching everybody over here is eating sandwiches, and they're looking good.
They keep peeking in, but they
Yeah.
make sure that they have a sandwich mid-bite every time they peek
Hey,
in.
Dan, you're with the boys today, okay?
I am
Happy
with
to
the
have you.
boys.
Thank you for doing this.
Who do you
course.
think the best fighter in the NHL is right now?
Great question.
I have 2 names
Okay.
that I think are 1 and 2, and I think one of them is very underrated. I think the underrated one is Tanner Jeannot.
Underrated? Okay. Yeah.
I think in comparison, when you look at like everybody talks about Arthur Jackeye,
Yeah.
and then Ryan Reeves, whoever else it may be. No one
Laurier.
talks about Jeannot, but
That's mine.
I'm pretty sure he beat Jackeye in a fight this year, or
Yep.
Reeves or someone like that. So I think he's pretty underrated.
Yeah. I think the problem with Jeannot, the Jeannot issue is that he came out like gangbusters in his rookie
Yes.
year and it tapered off last season. That trade to Tampa seems to have completely removed the fighting element from his
Now
He's
game.
trying to be a
he
hockey
has
player.
3, and I think they all came in like 6 games.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Austin Watson has like 6.
Yeah.
So there's an element to his game that I think that Tampa Bay likes his skill more than Nashville maybe like the sandpaper. But I like that pick. It's a great pick. You were gonna say Nick Delorier.
I think he's number 1.
Delorier is
That-
number
he
1
has to be
right
number
now. He's the guy that just is willing to go and fight with literally anybody, and he's of that weight class where he can go with anyone. It's not
He's
a
scary.
Ryan Reeves element where Reeves has to have a willing combatant to be able to match up against him now.
Is Reeves overrated?
No, I think that the issue for Reeves, sorry, I kicked your laptop there. The issue for Reeves is twofold. First of all, Reeves is a heavyweight living in a middleweight NHL kind of world. So there's nobody, he's the top of the pile, and there's nobody that can really even come to his weight class. So you get comments like we did about Vinny Desharnais, where he's going up against the guys that are smaller than him and all that. Second of all, Reeves is a guy that has an opinion about everything, and we're putting the microphone in front of him now in Toronto, and he's giving it about everything. Yeah. And I love that, but I don't think some people do. Some people don't want to hear from that fourth line grinder, and that's the kind of the downfall that Reeves has. Whereas Delorier is still a serviceable guy on your team.
Yeah. He's not getting healthy scratched as much as
6-7 minutes of your ice time. You see that with Ross Johnson. Ross Johnson, I think, is my pick for the toughest guy in the league. Again, a guy that is probably just that extra weight class too high to be able to fight the Deloriers of the world consistently. But they did, yeah, but not consistently. Right. You're not going to see the old days of Probert versus Domi round 1, round 2, round 3, round 4. You just don't get that anymore with those guys. So
yeah. Handshake line respect said Reeves would dust Vinny.
Yes, he would.
Probably,
correct. Yeah. Ryan Reeves is a fighter. Vincent Desharnais is a hockey player that can fight.
Yeah,
and that's the difference. That's the difference between the two of them. And I, as a guy that runs hockey fights, I love Reeves, and I'll fight to tooth and to death to have that guy be able to stay in this league. But
I don't want to get off topic, but I want to pick your brain just on Reeves. Yes. The Marchand thing when he messed up. Whatever guy was on the Leafs and he like hit his knee or whatever in the boards there.
Timothy Lindgren.
Yeah, Lindgren. So Reeves took a lot of crap because he didn't go fight him afterwards and whatnot. He said he didn't have a shift against him. So like, yeah, I get it. I also don't. I'm like, I don't know. I turn to my coach and be like, I'll beat your ass if you don't let me out there. In that case, where do you come out on that?
So for me, it's twofold. What is Reeves going to really do in that situation to Brad Marchand, where he doesn't look like the absolute monster for doing it? And so Marchand and the Bruins are the same ilk as the Panthers. They're going to go out and they're going to stir it up with you just to that line, and they're not going to go over it, because if they do, then the media goes after them. But you as a team, you just have to ignore that shit. And I don't know. It's tough because Marchand is a really small guy and he plays the victim really, really well. And so Reeves was in a real no-win situation there. There's other guys on the team that can also fight. You don't have to.
Bertuzzi, Domi, they're more likely to get minutes against.
And so that was my part was the Toronto media, God love them. They understand that Reeves is going to give them the soundbite that they need. So they put the microphone in front of him. But why the hell weren't they asking the other guys the exact same question? What's his name? The kid that scored the goal that they didn't call the penalty on last night. The Panthers player that tucked the puck in the net after the whistle.
I know.
Warren Fogle comes out and face rubs that guy. Warren Fogle is not our tough guy. Why isn't Darnell Nurse doing that? No, because it's anybody on the team can do it. Anybody on the team can grab Marchand and say, don't do it.
That's a good point.
So it's tough. And I think that you're going to continue to see this for Ryan Reeves as the season rolls on. Toronto media is going to keep putting the microphone in front of him, and he's going to keep giving them answers, and it's going to keep upsetting people, and the cycle is just going to continue.
Quickly, I want to talk about the new international hockey tournament that's going to happen.
Our best on best tournament.
The World Cup.
Best on best, right?
So what is it? It's the US, Canada, Finland, and Sweden will compete.
That's all we need.
Whatever this tournament
Never heard of Leon Draisaitl. Who is
2025. I'm assuming you're not for this, Dan. What are your thoughts on the tournament? Here, I guess quickly on mine. I'm glad we have something, but I wish it was better.
Yes. At least you tried.
Yes.
Let's put the meme up there, give them the cake. At least they attempted. The other thing they learned is you should never try. But this is frustrating to see. We've been without a World Cup of hockey now since what,
2016
was the North America Team
in
Euro.
Toronto.
And by the way, something that was universally panned up until we actually started playing the games, and then everybody else was like, I actually like the North American team. I like this Team Europe. It's a kind of a fun element added to it. And the NHL sees that, and now we're going to 4 teams.
Yeah.
Because marketing.
I think one thing that the NHL needs to get out of their own way for is the fact of, like, yes, there's probably not going to be enough players from Germany who play in the NHL or Slovakia or even France, for example, like wherever it may be, right? But they still have good quality players within the league. Like, I went through and looked at, here's just a few players. So obviously we know why Russia won't be in this competition. I know there's the idea going around that, like, the athletes didn't do anything wrong, which is true for all of it. But I think the point against Russia being there is the fact of, like, that country shouldn't have any national pride right now, and you can't really defend it outside of that. So I think that's fair just to move on from that. I just wanted to address that quickly. But obviously, guys like Kucherov, Panarin, Vasilevsky, Shesterkin won't be there. You look at Czechia, David Pastrnak won't be there. Hronek won't be there. Thomas Hertl won't be there. Germany, Draisaitl, Stutzler, Seider. Even Norway, Matt Zuccarello is a top 20 scorer in the league every single year. Switzerland, you have Kevin Fiala, Timo Meyer, Roman Josi. Slovenia.
That's not a best on best.
Yeah,
That's just simply
Slovenia.
isn't.
There's only Anze Kopitar, yes, but he's still, that's how you grow the game. Austria, they have Marco Rossi. Yes, they'll probably go to this tournament and get beat up, but that's not the point. That's not the point. And you can also look at a country like Denmark, who have the odd couple of players in there too. Like, the NHL needs to get this out of their head that this game needs to expand outside of those 4 countries. Switzerland, I can't believe they're not involved in this, to be honest. That's why we need the Olympics so bad, so we can see this. And what was it, 2014, I think, when the Olympics was in Sochi? And the final was that Russian team they didn't want to call Russia and Germany. Yeah. And it's like, oh my God, Germany's might win this whole thing. And it's like, that's really cool.
Yes.
And now we're missing this with the World Cup. And I understand it's not the same level as, like, the FIFA World Cup, but it is electric when you see teams like Saudi Arabia beat Argentina.
Yep.
The underdog story is always incredible. And the NHL needs to find that. And that's the only way it's going to grow the game, is when they open their eyes and look outside of the NHL.
The World Hockey Championships were in Halifax when I was there, and one of the stories that came out of Halifax was this awesome fandom out of Latvia. The Latvian hockey fans traveled to Halifax, took over a bar, and it was unreal. An unreal environment in Halifax. I love to see it, and that's the kind of story that the NHL needs to be sinking their teeth into. Sure. Let's come up with some kind of eloquent way to not have Russia there, but have their players there. There's ways that they could have done it, but instead they go to the lowest common denominator, and they have hockey fans like us saying, thanks for doing something, you guys, but maybe we could do something more.
There's a couple of things that are so ironic with it too. I guess quickly just on Latvia. Do you remember the Olympics? Maybe it would have been the last time the NHL players actually went, so it would have been 2010, I think. When that Latvian goalie made like 57 saves or something crazy, and Canada won like 2-0, and like, it took him so long. It's like, that's really cool. You see, like, if the World Juniors can do this every single year, of having these random countries like Kazakhstan or wherever it may be, then the NHL should be able to figure that out too. And my second point to it is, it was only a couple of years ago the NHL was bragging about how much this game is expanded, when Juraj Slafkovský went first overall and then Simon Nemec went second, both Slovakian players. We will not see those players at this tournament because the NHL doesn't want to market outside of the 4 major countries. So,
and I'm sorry, look at this photo right here. You're telling me you don't want this trap? Like, that was electric. This just happened this past summer. Latvia got 3rd place at the tournament. They made it like a national holiday.
So cool.
They had like relics of Archer Seeloffs all over the place. How could you, like, after seeing this, that you could be like, no, let's just do those other ones? Like, are you brain dead? I cannot understand this, and it baffles the mind.
There has to be a business answer to this.
Yeah,
we blamed insurance for the Olympics not having the best on best there. There has to be some kind of business answer to this, but you have to be able to throw that aside as a league. Like, you have to figure a way to to do this again, like you said, Liam, when you're marketing yourself as being this global brand, and then you can't come up with some kind of a tournament. Meanwhile, the NBA has its own tournament running within its league, within its season is starting.
Whilst the NHL isn't playing the in-game tournament, which is a good segue into the DoorDash, the menu.
Ding dong.
DoorDash Nation 25, Dan. Have you used it yet?
I have actually.
Liam, point up.
Uh-oh. Boop, boop. There it is. Nation 25 promo code. First order.
25% off.
25% off. Not bad. The menu for the NHL is there are no games tonight. Jeff Merrick put out some reasoning behind it. And Aaron said this perfectly before the show. I don't want to hear your logic.
I was talking to Liam right before, being like, explain to me why there are no games. I hate this. Then he sends me this tweet, which explains it very clearly.
Yeah.
And I was like, get that away from me.
I see your logic and I
just want
remove
to
it.
be angry. Okay.
For our podcast listeners, Jeff Merrick said, no NHL games tonight. Here's why. There are only 3 teams/buildings available to host a game tonight: Vancouver, Calgary, and Arizona. Canadian teams get sent to the U.S. this week for Thanksgiving Eve/Black Friday, since home games this week are requested by American teams. Arizona did not want to play back-to-back games on Tuesday and Wednesday. 12 teams playing Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, so cannot schedule Tuesday. Or that would be 4 games in 5 nights. Also, 4 teams who went to Sweden are not available.
That
is the issue. But that's the NHL screwing it up.
Well, but also
Why
the
are
first line of Arizona did not want to play back-to-back home games. If only you could then remove that Wednesday game, and then you could have an Arizona game on either end, and
Also,
at least it's somebody.
When do teams get to say, I don't want to play back-to-backs?
Well, hey,
is that a thing?
Not the teams in Sweden, that's for sure.
Yeah,
The Minnesota Wild playing the Leafs back-to-back with
that's-
less than 24 hours in between games. How is that
Didn't
safe?
Detroit play back-to-back too?
I think so.
They played Ottawa and
For the Leafs.
Toronto, yeah.
The
Crazy
NHL,
that they didn't have to play back-to-back.
Weird.
the NHL here just like, why schedule that global series so close to American Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
You can't move American Thanksgiving. It's the same time every year. It should be circled on the calendar as like, hey, right here in this red circle is when all our American teams want to play at home or close to home, whatever it may be. So we have to do this, this, and this. So instead, let's just send 4 teams to Sweden, who then can only play like 2 games the next week. Just doesn't make sense. Again, the NHL is just getting in their own way. The NBA is a full slate tonight.
Yep.
The NFL has
NFL
games
last night.
all
Did you watch
week.
the game?
I didn't watch the game. I was watching another game.
I had 2 TVs going.
There you go. There's my rant.
I want to bring it
Weekly
up though, because Braden asked he asked, give us the fantasy football update for the Liam Aaron matchup.
I lost. Aaron won.
First place.
But
Well,
just so
first place
everybody
never wins the
knows,
league though. So
That's true.
regular season doesn't matter. It's
Exactly,
about what you do
exactly,
in the playoffs.
exactly.
So I'll be winning. Thanks, Derek Henry, for doing literally nothing this week. Heading over to Betway. Obviously, nothing going on tonight, like we just ranted about in the NHL. But the Oilers are the underdogs tomorrow against the Carolina Hurricanes, which we will have a full preview of with pregame with Bordsy,
yes,
which will start at 4, I think. Tyler will also be on the show tomorrow, and then there will be After Dark, and I believe it is Jay who is joining the After Dark crew tomorrow, right?
Buddy, I don't know.
I think that's what the schedule was set outside.
I know that Jay is going to be joining for pre-gaming with Bordsy on Friday, because that's an early one. That's going to be taking over this show at noon, because we got a 1 o'clock game. Maybe you'll be there too. We spend a lot of time with you, so probably. For Betway tonight, what do you?
Oh yeah,
what do
I
you like
I have
tonight?
nothing.
You don't like anything?
I didn't really pay attention to the NBA. I'm just frustrated that there's no NHL games tonight.
For me in the NBA, if we need a bet, I would. I know you're not a Raptors guy this kind of year,
Anti-Raptors.
but we're playing the Magic, so and it's in-season tournament play. Did you guys see the Raptors court? I
No, I haven't seen
like the Raptors
They're
court.
going full different color scheme
It's,
and court
it's
for this
weird, and
tournament.
I didn't like it at first, but I'm starting to now.
Let's-
I'd probably take the Phoenix Suns over the Portland Trailblazers
There you
as
go.
well. But Liam, we have one other friend to shout out as well.
Yes, I couldn't find this ad.
Sherwood, I got it memorized from After Dark and everything. Sherwood Power Sports and Marine. Since 1985, it was previously named Free Spirit and Marine. They're teaming up with our good friends at Sherwood Ford,
Wow.
the Giants, to build a beautiful building in the heart of Sherwood Park. You'll see me and Liam riding our bicycles around there in the
Always.
summertime.
Show Pop Bike Gang.
Scoot Gang. Let's get scooters. But yeah, they're opening up in February 24. Go check it out. ATVs, pontoon boats, whatever you could possibly think of for outdoor fun, they have it. Shout out Sherwood Power Sports and Marine.
Last one we got to talk about. Greta, Edda.
Ella.
AAA. Who doesn't want to go play some Super Mario Kart on a Tuesday?
I'd love to.
You can get some great food there. Pizza, what are they? Pizza taquitos?
Pizza taquitos.
These are fantastic.
They are the best.
Nuggies.
They're street nugs.
They got a lot of good stuff going on at Greta. So
We got the whole company here today. Let's go to Greta in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
Wait, do the other people have to do stuff?
Maybe.
Computers, we're good.
There you go. Dan, thank you very much for jumping on with
Thanks
us.
for having
making
me.
Your show debut.
Are we still? We're still live though because we're not at 200 likes.
Yes.
Also,
this
Dan,
is awkward.
through everybody here talking in the chat, all they said is they want more Dan. I
Oh.
presented, want some Dan on pre-gaming?
Yeah.
And every single person in here said yes. Oh, they want the foot update too. Oh yeah.
yes.
So if you didn't catch After Dark last night, man, it was not my day yesterday. I had a bad internet connection, and 2 minutes before we went live, I sliced the hell out of my toe.
It's gnarly.
It's very deep. Still powered through. Did the whole show with a nice towel of blood underneath me. I did go to the hospital yesterday to go try and get stitches. The line and wait was crazy. I asked the triage nurse, what time would I probably get looked at? It was 10:30. She said 5 a.m. at the earliest. I then looked at her and said, can I just super glue this thing back together the old-fashioned way? She was like, yeah. So I showed her the picture and video of it. My mother is a nurse. I drove over to my mother's, woke her up standing above her bed because she had the medical glue.
Right.
And she fixed me up, cleaned up my cut. I am wearing Crocs today in the office.
Styling.
I could not get my foot in my shoe this morning, but I'm powering through. Thank you, everyone, for checking in on the foot.
There you go.
That's all right. I'll live. Whatever.
Free foot pics from Aaron right now.
I put them on the internet last night. I let my dogs out.
There you go.
My feet look good, though. So there you go.
Thanks, everybody, for watching. Shout out Sherwood Ford, Alberta Blue Cross, Greta, DoorDash, Sports Closet, Betway, Star Mechanical, and the Finning Cat YouTube chat, and all of you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. Tyler will be on the show tomorrow, so we'll see you then.
Boo.
Thank you for watching Oilers Nation Every Day. Hit the subscribe button to never miss a show. And for more, visit Oilersnation.com.